line programs are not necessarily those of the station, its management, or sponsors. As always, we're privileged to amplify the voice of the people here on Vox Populi 1460 and worldwide at WVOX.com for you and yours.
Hello, New York.
Hello, New York. This is Bill O'Shaughnessy.
There's always something happening.
Right here at 1460
on New York's last
independent
community radio station.
For you and yours.
WVOX and
WVOX.com.
1460.
Shelly, you gotta meet up, man.
With Rich Thomas is the former mayor of Mount Vernon.
What happened here?
What happened here with Rich Thomas?
1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's a glorious day, great weather, great time, not too hot, not too humid. You're listening to Whitney Global Media Station right here on WVOX 1460 AM radio. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here. We're asking the question of what happened with, and today we have a question about what happened with gas prices, what happened with inflation. Today the Fed is increasing the target interest rate, raising interest rates astronomically to try and deal with inflation, but we're going to challenge that notion as to what the Fed is really doing. And we're also going to ask a question about what happened with Trump, Biden, Putin. You know, what's going on with even the SEC? They had some challenges or charges against municipality for wrongly misleading investors. And, you know, we may have some questions for our state controller, Thomas DiNapoli. So with us today, we have with us Charlie Knapp, former AUSA, co-host on Nap Time right now. Wednesdays, third Wednesday of every month, we have Nap Time where we go into these issues of extreme importance because we have to keep asking the question, and we invite you to call in to ask the same questions of what happened here, especially with gas prices. At 914-636-0110. Again, that's 914-636-0110. So, Charlie, we have a lot going on, a lot to unpack. We have a scenario where, gas prices are literally out of control. They continue to increase, driving up the price of everything from eggs to basic foodstuffs. People are having a tough time making ends meet because gas prices continue to run away. There's some information that came out from the United States Energy Information Agency that said for the past 4 to 6 months, all of the liquefied natural gas being exported, about 73% of the liquefied natural gas being exported from the United States is going to Europe. And that's still, that's a lot more than what we used to traditionally export to Europe. And we're still doing exports to Asia. So it's clear that there's this movement of taking supply out of the United States to backfill the loss of fossil fuels going into Europe from Russia, and we're paying an extreme price that doesn't seem to be going away. That's not inflation, that's scarcity. That's an issue of no supply being available to deal with the demand here. So yesterday the president was in Philadelphia, and I believe he challenged union leaders to assist, and oil companies in the United States to assist in producing more oil and gas in the United States, which is about time, but the relief is nowhere in sight. So I don't know what to say other than it's curious as to why the president would oppose plans by Israel to develop new relationships to have its own natural gas pipeline. It just doesn't make sense. Can you give some perspective on that?
Yeah, well, President Biden's attempt to draw a bow in the oil industry to increase production is not particularly original. If you think back, President Kennedy did the same with the steel industry. President Truman seized the steel industry during the Korean War when they threatened to go on strike. Supreme Court knock that back in a famous case. If there are any lawyers out there, it's Youngstown Tube. But the fundamental problem is really policy, because this speaks, as you said, to scarcity, to distribution problems, and the policy just toggles back and forth because no one believes apparently that the United States, with all the great minds and innovative energies that we have, can do two things at once. The binary, which is always a false one, is, well, we either have to frack as much as we can, open up the Arctic, pull out as much oil as we can, or forget all that, we have to transition immediately to green energy. And the simple answer is you don't. You can do both. Eventually we're going to run out of oil, but that's sort of like Social Security. That date always recedes, and it's kind of a scare date, but oil is not a renewable resource, so at some point it's going to become prohibitively expensive to squeeze out the last couple of drops. So inevitably, we're going to look for alternatives. And the main alternative at the moment is a set of renewables, which I read yesterday actually was keeping Texas cool.
Mm-hmm.
The renewables there are now, from what I read, giving about, I think it was 40%. If not more, of to keep the grid going. But there's an elephant in the closet, and again, it's a question of political will, and that's nuclear energy, carbon free. And if the government and the various research institutions would really put their minds to work on fusion
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to fission, which is what we have now, and there have been some advances, that could be a game changer. But in the interim, it's an international system. Oil, natural gas, and all that. It's international. And so there's a limit to what we can do, because the prices really have nothing to do with if we kept everything in the United States. That's just the way it goes. The EU is actually, the commissioner is in Israel as we speak, and they've struck a memorandum of understanding with Israel and Egypt to provide liquefied natural gas,
Mm-hmm.
which will be pumped into the European countries via a pipeline from Egypt. And it may be that the Biden administration reviews its rejection prior to the Ukraine invasion of what was called the East Med pipeline that was going to go through Cyprus and into Greece and into Europe that way. Of course, you have Turkey, which is the wild card because it's not clear which way Erdogan's going to go. It's also not clear what's happening in Ukraine with Russia, how long that may last. And that, frankly, is a battle of wills. Gasoline is over $5. The interest rate's going to increase by 0.75% today from what reliable sources say. There's going to be some rough, choppy waters ahead. And we just have to decide how we're going to deal with it. We dealt with the Depression, we dealt with World War II. Those were far, far worse situations. I have every confidence that the American people are up to whatever the challenges we face. We're not a whiny people, we're a can-do country. And we need to express that as a people to our elected officials to stop playing games and to get on with the business of government. Otherwise, it may be that the midterm elections surprise both parties.
You're absolutely right, and that's where I would say, innovation is definitely the key. How do we out-innovate these issues? How do we solve these problems? Because at the end of the day, we have a scenario where, the gas prices are definitely not going to go away. So it's an incentive to say, how can we, realistically flip to a different fuel source? However, if we don't have the power generating sources like nuclear, for example, which can keep, electric prices low and carbon almost virtually emission free, we're going to have a big challenge keeping reliability. But don't change that dial. Listen to what happened here. We'll be back from this quick commercial break.
And we'll be taking that phone call.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jerry. I don't know if you can hear me, but I hear like a little bit of echo. Hey, Jerry. I hear a little bit of an echo in this headphone. I don't know if it's yeah, just a little bit when I'm talking. Uh, switch headphones. Hang on. Okay.
Or, hey, this is John, interest rate, an update on the economy to fall. Raise interest rates by 3%. Stocks.
So the Fed definitely has a big problem, and I think the issue is that they're fighting inflation, which is real, but I think the real issue is supply. I think it's very simple. It's like, look, if you don't have it, the price is going to go up. If you want that Cabbage Patch doll, if you want that baby formula, you're going to pay an extra price to get it. And that's what's happening. There is not enough supply in the United States, period.
Yeah.
So, be it wood to build something, be it gasoline. Our gas is being, the stuff that we make is being exported. So, it's like, if you want it, you're going to pay more because in Europe, they're paying 3 times the price.
You always have. Yeah.
But I'm gonna like the price of natural gas is insane. I think it went up like 400% plus right at the beginning of the Ukraine war.
Yes.
So I don't even know if they've reported what that number is now. I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm gonna go online and show everybody that's watching online how much has the gas gone up. You say price of natural gas in Europe. Price. Hello. Here we go. Price. It's not letting me do it. Hang on. Hey. Let me try this one.
Local advertisement established by the O'Shaughnessy family, which considers VOX a liquid.
Price of natural gas.
Call Junior at 914-636-1460.
So
And get on the radio.
double blow.
It's heard it all. Now back to what happened here. Which range county?
Saudi Arabia.
Who's from?
Okay, we'll take it.
Welcome back. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, and you're listening to What Happened Here, where we're asking the question of what happened with natural gas prices, what happened with the situation in Europe, where we have all this uncertainty causing challenges here. We briefly discussed the issue with energy in the United States, specifically in New York. And we're going to get into some more questions. I know we have a caller online, but if you want to call in to 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide at WVOX.com, you can call in at 914-636-0110. Again, that's 914-636-0110. And as we went into break, we received a call. Caller Armando, you're on the line with what happened here. Never a dull moment. Just join it. Right about the price. You know, if we have a president that the men don't know what to do. We have enough oil in our country to last year, for years. So, you know, like, it would seem a lot easier, man, why, you know, let's say, let's have an open
the oil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the economy, the whole rising and the economy. So you have to take it over there, try to bring the inflation down, try to get the prices down, try to get more to the country. It's hard to get there. People, you just want to have a free thing medication going. I don't know, yesterday he said, I was so happy, doing a great job. Where are you? Where are you from? Where are you from? It's $5 a gallon. So that's going on tonight. You know, you go into the supermarket, you try to get a box of cereal, and you get for $7, $8, $9 for a box of cereal. Really? I don't blame, over the city, and
Also get some great deals, and also get some great deals on real estate, and some great deals in terms of being able to advise countries and companies. But I got a comment from online. People are listening and watching even from Tanzania, all the way in East Africa. They're saying that the prices went up over there too, and they don't understand what is going on. And it's clear that the disruption in the supply is really what's driving it. And you're right, Mondo, about not taking action earlier to make sure that supplies are in the pipeline, seriously in the pipeline, so that we don't have this instability. And that's what's really driving it, on top of the fact that other supplies that we rely upon, we don't make anything in the United States anymore, which is a big problem. And that's something that, I was always trying to see happen. Mount Vernon, just quick commercial on Mount Vernon. I always envision Mount Vernon as being a place where you make things and make things happen. It's a source of industry. It's always been a hub for innovation and manufacturing. We still have a strong industrial manufacturing base, but we need to build that up overall. But before you called, Mondo, I don't know if you heard us talk about the need for more power, and that's where nuclear power is needed. There was a big mistake made with closing down Indian Point. But hopefully there are new types of nuclear fusion technology can be put to work to keep electric prices low, and that would help us really start growing again. I mean, it just seems to be no plan. And Charlie, I don't know if you want to weigh in, because it seems like there's been an extreme rush to one perspective, let's say the far left, but the policy has really failed us in terms of trying to create an affordable situation here, with cereal prices being $8 a box.
Well, I think if there were a policy, we would have known about it. That's the problem. There is no policy. There is no vision. Everything is all or nothing, my way or the highway. I'm good, you're bad. And we never get down to, forget about compromising, we never even get down to the actual reality of what we can do. It's not just a function for oil, for instance, of leasing. All those things take quite some time. You need to get the equipment and all the rest. But we have had for decades a bottleneck in the refinery. And that was never really addressed. We have our strategic reserve or whatever that may be. But if you don't have the refining capacity that you can ramp up, then it doesn't matter how much oil you pull out from the ground. It's just going to, in a sense, back up. What this makes me think of really is a variation on the Noah's Ark story. What would have happened to Noah if he was told the deluge is coming, but then just put it off until like day 4 of the deluge, and only then started to get his act together and build the ark. I think, we're in not a dissimilar circumstance now. We knew that there were problems. We didn't really address it because everybody was too busy trying to score political points. And we are where we are. There are clear paths forward, but we as voters need to apparently school our elected officials calling them names is not, I don't think, going to be helpful. I think that what we need to do is figure out, from the ground up, certain areas that we want them to address intelligently and address now.
Now, Mondo, I don't know if you can stay on the line, but you definitely hit a live wire. We thank you for calling in. If you can stay on, we definitely want to talk when you get back from this commercial break. Don't change that dial. So Mondo brought some energy to this conversation, and I think it's a natural pivot now. What are we going to do locally? Because you got school taxes due, you got other property taxes due, and there's no plan, there's no action, there's no effort by these local municipalities to kind of create this. How do we create relief locally? And that's the thing that kills me. Is like nobody's really thinking about these business issues.
Well, they are, but the SEC had to intervene in Rochester because they wanted the bond issue, and then they just lied to the public about the state of the school situation up there.
Yep.
So there's the right way and the wrong way.
That's right. That's right. So we'll talk about it. Don't change that dial. I see you all tuning in. Rasta, I saw you said what's good, man. Rasta, I gotta follow up with you, man. We gotta connect. And who else is out there? Benti, I see you all the way from Tanzania. How you doing out there? I saw that. I saw y'all doing your thing out there. I need to make it out to Tanzania. It's a beautiful country.
At New York Presbyterian, our cancer care experts take a
I'm waiting to see if the Fed continues to raise rates. It's like you said, that Noah's Ark in reverse.
Yeah,
because they waited too long. They should have started doing this last year. Just increments. It gives it increments of 15 business points. 20, just to kind of like taper it in very slowly. Say, all right,
Well, hopefully they have the equivalent of automatic braking systems, and you jam on the brakes, it actually flows through as a little bit better.
But I just see, it being a major, it's like a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Big comedy of errors.
Well, it's politics.
Yeah.
It's always easier to cut someone else's program than to raise taxes if that's actually what you need to do.
Right.
But then maybe, the DOJ can start and local prosecutors can start going after the however many hundreds of billions and PPP and everything else that went missing.
Yeah, that it's
Unless it went overseas, but
who knows? I just know that
they're not even looking.
they're not.
That's the problem, and that's hundreds of billions of dollars right there.
Just could have been better used.
Yeah. Which also suggests that inflation was not really linked to the couple of trillions that went in. That large chunk actually never went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
But we'll say that everything's going to get even more crazy once the Supreme Court comes out with its rulings in the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure they're going to drop it if not tomorrow, they're going to definitely drop it next week, and it's just going to be.
Yeah, it'll be the day before they all get out of town.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. But I will say that the gun decision that's expected, ruling New York's rules are unconstitutional. Given the situation with bail reform, I think that it may be more well received by folks than people expect.
Yeah, well, the whole gun debate went sideways decades ago.
Yeah, sure. Hey, ladies, welcome back. We're about to come back from commercial breaks. But yeah, I mean, like, I just think that,
Highs are climbing in the upper 70s, supposed to be partly by this.
something's gotta give, and
It's like this shower.
there has to be some drastic action that can be taken to kind of, not guns, just in general, like, I feel that, you know, our president should take a drastic step and just, you know, take complete command of the situation, because if we're literally at war with Russia over Ukraine, it's just like he has to find a way to end it. I think that's it. That they have to find a way to end it. I know we don't want to repeat a mistake of World War One and appeasement, but he has to find a way to say this is over.
Relax.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to WVOX and Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, New York. The name of our show is What Happened Here? Today we're asking a question of what happened with gas prices, what happened with the situation that's going on overseas and how it has impacted everything. All the prices going up from inflation to interest rates. The Fed announced they're going up 75 basis points. It is going to be more expensive. It's already gotten more expensive. And before we went to break, we had a caller call in that you know, basically asked the real question of what's going on. How come our leaders aren't doing anything? And if you want to call and join the conversation, the phone number is 914-636-0110. That's 914-636-0110. And you're listening to 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide on WVOX.com. So, Armando, before we went to break, we were talking about, you know, stuff we need to do. And I just want to highlight on a local front, there's no vision, there's no action by local leaders, especially in my community in Mount Vernon. There's no vision whatsoever on what to do about the economy. Taxes were raised approximately 30% in Mount Vernon. Again, I think it's a tyranny of dead ideas that's really tormenting the community. But in Rochester, there was some action by the SEC. And I'm going to ask Charlie if he wants to just give context on that. Unless, Mondo, you want to comment on something else before we talk about the SEC and what they've done locally to try and get financial transparency for local taxpayers who desperately need tax relief.
To begin with. And everything else like that.
30% in Mount Vernon.
Yeah. Like, keep the, you know, keep the taxes where they are, that would be fine. Even though it's a fight with the person to, you know, try to, you know, and all that. We're going through a bad time right now, and the president just started doing nothing as usual. And, you know, this bothers me, and it bothers a lot of other people. It's going on this trip. It's not right, come on.
Well, that's part of the supply issue that we were talking about. And before you go into that thought, just hold it for 1 second, 'cause I just want to just emphasize what you're saying is that, you know, that's the supply issue I'm worried about, is that we're not making things here. And the fact that we don't make it is the fact that we can't get the products that we need, want, or deserve. So you're right about the auto industry. It's just the president has to, and I was saying this offline, that I believe the president has to take command of various situations and put more structure around it and say, this is over. This is now fixed. And if it's not fixed within the next 2 weeks, heads are going to roll. And that's the kind of, you know, decisive action we need, especially right now.
Well, like I was saying before, I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can. And I think it's great. Tom and Spencer would hope the president like to be going. I don't want to. And so, you know what? We're going to depend on these people letting us to get to a large point. So, what I want done is. What, one shot three on there, one. It is what it is now.
That's 90 days, 90 days, get it done. Well, one, well, let,
I said before. Why, you have the whole way.
so,
Yeah.
White House.
Well, let me give you the rosy picture of what you said. If gas is $12 and cereal is 40, then we're going to be a much healthier society because we're going to be walking a lot more and eating a lot less junk food.
we're starving.
But what I wanted to say, and I don't disagree with you, but I think that a lot of this is optics, and the
Thank you, Mondo.
the optics, yeah, the optics that I think the administration needs to put forward is that they're doing something. And what should that something start with? Biden has been in the Senate, was in the Senate for decades, 40 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
LBJ used to bring in the heads of the Senate, the Democrats and the Republicans. You know, they'd play poker, they'd drink a little bit, but they would talk politics and they would set agendas and they would get programs through because it was all cooked up ahead of time, so you don't have the grandstanding of Biden or whoever, the Democrat or the Republican president.
You're talking about an era of politics where there was collaboration.
Well, but I think that if summoned to the White House, first quietly to set the stage, but then eventually publicly and very rapidly, this could be a Save America program that could be unrolled, that would be bipartisan. So it wouldn't look like, well, it's going to help the Democrats. It's going to help everybody.
And so on the line, we have a new caller. Caller, thank you for joining. Many thanks.
You know, that. Education is being for the national sugar cost, the way that group, as he had made, time you out of business. That's correct. But who? The more gas way. One of the in the cost of blue district. You know, Mexico, remove their dollar, we're gonna be cut, we'll rewind those, that, chill, president, now, she what? So this, the answer is no. Now, who works about it, so, how do you be like your official land, and then it's a lot of others. I don't know how I heard. We'll get the cost, I don't know. We have a benefit for that, and the hassle is too much, and then, that is good, right? What we can do it already with the food pipeline. Now we're doing it. That's what I'm like, 1,000, that's the day. Out we go at that as a reminder. That's the power to the here.
Some policy decision at that. No decision.
But everybody, pipeline, now you want to get up.
Frankenstein.
And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that my last call. And when I she the good part of the energy, Include as a domestic product. And that's almost that out. Now, whatever it is, though.
Well, don't. That's a cliffhanger right there. We're gonna have to hold that thought as you hold that line. Don't change that dial. Listen to what happened here on WVOX. Yeah, he's right.
The downside of AM radio, just when you're about to get into it,
Yeah,
commercial break.
I know.
WVOX has to go to the FM format.
We need. Yeah, we have to talk to him about. Can we get one more minute?
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating because, I mean, he's making valuable points, but
Yeah.
as he said, it's basically what we've been banging on. If the voters are just going to sit back and, blame everybody else when they're actually people.
Responsible
Yeah.
for allowing these people to.
Yeah, they're not, we're voters, it's, they think that the V in voter can get substituted for V in victim, and it's just not right. You can use that line if you'd like to, but
Or V for victory without going to do the work.
yeah,
I got
everybody wants to be born on third base and believe they have friction.
it.
That's just not the way it works.
A strange day is coming to America. I mean, it's already a strange day.
Yeah,
It's already a strange day. Oh my goodness.
but at the moment, we're not back in the 70s with Carter and 12%
Right.
inflation and all that, but
Well, it's coming. It's coming. Because
well, the thing is, it's coming differently because, as a lot of people said, the economic numbers with traditional economic theory, the numbers for our economy are not what they should. That's not what the current inflation, everything else used to look like. There's something new going on, and hopefully the Fed knows what that new thing is, but they haven't told anybody.
and that's
Because I certainly don't know.
I just think that if there were a way to get the supply under control, just a few supplies, not a lot, just enough from gas to keep the price under $3, which we have and we can do, to what other basic necessities do we need? All right, do we need we should have that here. That's my point. Like, we should have these basic things.
Yeah, we have that. The question is distribution. That's
We have enough trucks. It's just a really, I think the biggest issue is just the energy, it's the gas part.
Yeah.
That's it.
At the end of the day.
So maybe Keystone Pipeline is the answer.
I don't know. I don't know if it's enough. And look, at the end of the day, everything's a balance, right? Because the oil, I mean, that stuff is not coming from Alaska.
No, it's coming from Canada.
Yeah, and that's the shale oil, which is hugely disruptive. Well, but it's also hugely disruptive. And so, Canada apparently seems to be willing to sacrifice the middle part of the country. Saskatchewan, Alberta, wherever those
Where nobody's living.
and if it has to be jiggered so it doesn't go through
Tribal lands.
right,
Fine.
then they
Or like you said, we're gonna be walking.
Yeah.
It'll
will be much healthier.
be much healthier, yeah. I got it.
Yeah,
Much healthier. It'll be like the Flintstones.
yeah. Hopefully we'll be smarter.
We'll see the cops riding bikes and with their feet coming out the floor of the car. Wait a minute, there's a cars right now like that in Mount Vernon Police Department. I'm joking with you, but that's actually true though, unfortunately.
Yeah, and if you can't gas them up reliably.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's really, really, really trouble though.
yeah, and the people who get hurt the most are the ones whose voices don't get heard.
Yep. Yep.
And that's
So I'm going to set you up to talk about the SEC and DiNapoli, and then I'm going to try and get to these two final calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way we can at least get them in.
Yep.
All right, guys, here we go.
Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to What Happened Here on the WVOX Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here, and we're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. where we ask the question of what happened with, and today's question is about gas prices. So on the line, we had a caller, Vince, talking about making a lot of sense before commercial break interrupted the great flow of consciousness. But we're going to ask him to come back in a moment. I just want to touch upon one topic that we need to mention so everybody can hear this. Is about the SEC. The SEC has charged the city of Rochester for misleading investors on their finances. And I'm going to let Charlie unpack it, unravel it. And I know we have one more caller that we wanted to get to. I don't know if they're still on the line, but I'm going to ask that caller to please hold. So we're just going to take 1 minute to a minute and a half for Charlie to lay out the SEC situation, because this goes back to the local front, how local leaders are failing us at being honest about the financial situations we really face. Charlie?
Very briefly, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is a federal agency, has gone against certain people, the head of Capital Markets Advisors, the former Rochester City School District CFO, and Rochester's former finance director, in connection with the 2019 $119 million bond issue that they floated, which turns out contained outdated financials, and thereby misleading the investors, because Rochester knew that its school district had huge financial problems coming up. They did not disclose any of that, and now the feds have taken action. This is Rochester, and this always raises the question of, there is a state controller who's supposed to be keeping an eye on these things, and it looks like, once again, he was too distracted. I can't help but see that this happened in 2019, where his focus was on making sure that Mount Vernon went down the financial toilet, until 3 years later he took a look and found that everything that Mayor Thomas had claimed, and some of the things, just so I can toot my own horn since I was the Inspector General at the time, I'd written 4 separate reports on the condition of the city and why it was in that condition and what needed to be done. They were all ignored in 2019. They were ignored in 2020. And ultimately, Tom DiNapoli decided the coast is clear, I'll take a look. And lo and behold, everything that Mayor Thomas was complaining about and demanded action on from Albany, he said, yeah, that all happened. And my recommendation is don't do it again.
Yep, and $170 million he calculated, by the way, everybody. $170 million.
And that's
controlling.
Yeah, and at the same time, Rochester was floating misleading bonds. I mean, the problem with Mount Vernon, as we all know from experience, is they couldn't float anything because, thanks to the activities and inactivities of the city controller and the city council, Mount Vernon lost its credit rating. So putting up any sort of bond issue would have been out of the question.
And just to say this, and just to wrap up and then introduce the caller, look, Mount Vernon lost a huge opportunity to borrow money at near 0% interest rates. And this is what I talk about with local leaders not having their act together, being dishonest about the city's finances, and concealing the truth that we have some issues that we could have dealt with at a near 0% interest rate. But that interest rate is far gone now. It's over 6% now. So, with that, we're going to put a pause in that. Charlie and I are going to talk about the situation with the finances of Mount Vernon at another show at another time.
Yep.
But I do want this caller to call in and weigh in and tap in on the issues.
I did it about a year ago, and I rate, because interest rates are gonna be going through the roof. So we got a 3% fixed mortgage.
God bless.
Right now, it's about 6%, that's gonna go higher. And when people try to figure this out, in terms of anything you buy, whether it's a car, a loan, anything, is gonna be massively more expensive. It's already doubled since my friend, the way with this thing. When you look at what's gonna come in these, this is an intentionality on the part of the people controlling Biden. To basically destroy the American energy sector, and to people what they consider a real fuel. I just always have a little, I see India, and so a little bit of benefit we might get over the next 50 or 100 years by starving our country to death. I don't know if it's worth the price, but again, here we have this China-created virus attacking the United States, the struggles are behind it. And as I mentioned, I don't know if you affect more much more with this time, but the fact of the matter remains, what times in the history of our country we face such a financial crisis? Only $30 trillion for a country of 330 million people. Do you know what China's national debt is? With a population of 1.2 billion? $4 trillion. These are those in the past by letting them do it. They're spreading their wings in the Southeast Asia. They can find a deal with the Solomon Islands. Anybody ever get where and how?
Yes.
And this is not what's working with that. We're renewables from Cambodia. We're under threat with life. The Muslims are being absolutely. It's global gross domestic product. It's wrong. World War II. After World War II, the prize hospital was able to generate the wealth into the show. After years, that'll happen now.
Well, we got to take command and take control. I thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
And we have another caller. All right, so I think we may have lost our. Hey, Chris, thank you, Chris, for calling in. Chris, thank you for calling in.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Thank you for joining, Chris.
The other fuel sources, okay? We had no idea at the time, okay, that the world would be in the kind of chaos and division that it is in, namely Ukraine. Okay, that has been the big factor, okay, for everything that's, or one of the big factors for everything that's going on in the world. Okay, the chaos and confusion around the world, and I would throw in the insurrection of January 6th as the motivator, okay, for everything that's happening, including Ukraine, okay. I do think that Putin was definitely emboldened by what happened in our democracy. He saw an opportunity, okay, to attack not only our democracy and democracies around the world. So that's what we're going through.
I know, I hear you, and that's you know, that's part of the problem is that, you know, as the chaos started to unfold, it's the actions and policies that did not counteract or respond to the threats that marched against us, and that's where, again, you know, the issue remains. You know, it's sometimes there is a thing that's called too late, and you know, the actions being taken by the Fed is 1 year too late. They were called upon last year to take some of these actions gradually, not abruptly like they're doing now. But again, they're acting now in a manner where it's going to cause a lot more pain than what I believe is necessary. I mean, if the focus could come back to how do we keep energy prices affordable and get our local leaders to take action where they can, and we may feel less pain, but we're gonna have to pick this up at the next time. I thank you for calling in, Chris, and all the callers that called in on what happened here. Co-host Charlie Knapp for Nap Time. It's been a live wire. We've been wide awake on all the issues. Thank you so much, Charlie. You have any final words you want to say before we go?
No, I think we've run out of time, so we'll all hold it for the next third Wednesday.
Or sooner, because some of these topics may require some extra comments going into June or July. See you next show next week Wednesday. Take care.
I better make.